Johnson. In the film The Departed, one of my favourite films, Jack Nicholson's monologue at the beginning is quite a famous part of it. He's the gangster Frank Costello, and he says, "I don't want to be a product of my environment. I want my environment to be a product of me." And that always strikes a chord with me, because I truly believe that a massive part of recovery is the environment that you try to create for yourself. I want to share a true story with you. In the horrific Vietnam War, the soldiers, American soldiers, had to endure horrific and horrible conditions, much stress, and they saw sights that they would never ever forget. And many of them turned to heroin because it was freely available over there. It was given out, more or less, to troops. And many of them hadn't touched drugs before in their lives, but because of the situation they were in, were taking them. And it became such a concern to the head of the army towards the end of the war, when they were due to return home. It was discovered that certainly over 90% had taken heroin, but a massive 20% of the troops were physically dependent, addicted to heroin. And this was a massive problem. So the government decided to follow up on this and do research on it. But the amazing thing was, when they returned home to that loving environment that they had, most of them, and they returned to normality, and the stress levels dropped down, and they were in an environment that they were used to being in, and heroin wasn't freely available, etc., etc., all these things, a massive 90% of that 20% never took heroin again. That wasn't a problem for them. And this revolutionized the study into addiction at the time, and has been a big part of my recovery. The environment you try to create yourself is so important in sobriety. And it may mean making some quite uncomfortable decisions, such as changing your friends, changing the places you go to, changing the way you live your life, obviously, your routines in your life, your daily routines, what you have available in your house, wiping people off your phone, whatever it is. The environment you try to create, and sometimes that environment, is beyond your control, obviously, and situations sort of get out of hand. But you need to try to create the best environment possible to give yourself the best chance of recovery. In my next video, and sorry, I just want to add something else to that. And I work with the homeless quite regularly, 2 or 3 times a week. And the amount, and that situation I mentioned with the Vietnam troops, is it applies to the homeless, the people that I talk to very regularly, because the environment they're in, a lot of them use drugs and alcohol to escape that reality. And you find that as soon as they're put into some sort of normality and accommodation and a routine that's controlled, that they have much more of a chance of overcoming addiction. In my next video, in a couple of days' time, I'm going to share with you how I create what I think is my ideal environment. And some of those things may suit yourselves as well. And it includes everything I create around me, including diet and exercise. And I'll give you plenty of tips during that next video in a couple of days on what I think is the ideal environment that you'll need to create around yourself to give you the best chance of recovery. So please subscribe to the channel, please like, and please share these videos if you think they're going to be useful to someone else, or if they're helping you. Because the more that happens, the more people get to see them, and the more people that they'll help, which is obviously the ultimate aim of this channel, is to pass on experience that may help other people. So please do that if you can, and thank you so much for your support. And that was a quick sober tip for today. I'll speak to you in a couple of days. Until then, Carpe Diem, seize the day. Much love to you. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.